Well, hello and welcome to the Mythology of Astrology with my psychic connection. I'm Squirrel, and today I am going to be telling you the story of Aries. I'm super excited about this one. Aries is the one that made me fall in love with the astrology zodiac mythology. So this is where it all began for me, and I'm excited to share it with you today. I have my handy dandy notes because a lot of these names are really hard to remember. It is all Greek to me, but I got some nerd points for you starting off. We're just going to jump right in, okay? Now, my nerd points are Aries, the sign, is not the god of war. Now, Mars does rule the sign, it does rule Aries, but the actual sun, the actual constellation, is not the god of war. Aries is Latin for ram, and it's translated into ancient Greek as Krios, okay? The god of war, Ares, which is Greek, is Ares, and the ram is Aries. So the signs, try to think of it this way. The signs are Greek. They're Greek goddesses, humans, or creatures. The planets are always Roman, the Roman gods. Okay. So if you can keep that straight, you'll be able to tell the difference between Aries as the ram and Aries as the god of war. All right. I just had to throw that out there because a lot of people do think it's the god of war. So one more nerd point, and then I'm done with nerd points, and we'll jump into to story. Cassidy says, "So excited for the show." And Kelly says, "Hello, squirrel," with squirrel emojis and a hug and heart. She says, "Thank you for today. I love you. I love you too, Kelly." And Colleen gave me hearts, and I love those little circly dancing halo hearts. Those are so cute. And Kelly says, "I can't wait to hear everything. I can't wait to tell you. I'm super, super excited about it." But right before we jump into the story, I want to let you know that the Babylonians in ancient Sumeria identified Aries as being the agrarian worker, which is a really fancy way and tough way because it's got two R's in it, as saying a farmer. So there's no recorded reason or evidence of when or why they changed it from the farmer. I can't even say agrarian twice. That's a hard word. There's no reason that we can conceive of or that is recorded that shows why they changed it to the farmer, to the ram, but it was the ancient Sumerians that did change it to the ram. Okay. Now you guys, I'm gonna say this before the show, before the story starts. If you're loving the stories and you'd like to see more of them, you can do a small donation. It doesn't have to be a big donation, just to show your appreciation and help us with the overhead and all that good stuff. So if you want to donate, I do believe there's a donation link that you can choose what you donate as well. So, and you know I'm gonna do them anyway, right? Long as Journey lets me. So we are going to jump right in. So this story has quite a few moving parts. So I'll be going back and forth in time, which probably won't bother me too much, but it might get to y'all. But I will be letting you know when I'm moving and where I'm moving to. But we're going to start out with King Athamas of Boeotia and a cloud nymph named Nephele. And Athamas, the king of Boeotia, was a big deal back in ancient Greece. And he saw this cloud nymph, Nephele, and it was like insta love. He took one look at her and was like, "Holy crow, I have got to be with this woman. She is beautiful. She's graceful." She was just stunning and friendly and talkative and a little bit silly and a lot of fun. And he felt like she loved him too. So he married her, right? And they had 2 children, twins, Phrixus and Helle. Phrixus was a boy and Helle was a girl. And these twins were from the get-go just lovely. They were already, even as infants, well-behaved, friendly, happy, curious about everything, and everybody loved Phrixus and Helle. Now, Nephele loved her children too, but she was a cloud nymph. And cloud nymphs aren't quite like human beings. They don't have the same associations or understandings of relationships as we do. So, Nephele, being a cloud nymph, she loved her children and she loved King Athamas, but she also loved everybody else. So when she was supposed to be taking the children, she was off sleeping with some other guy. Every Tom, Dick, and Mary, or female, yeah. She had no concept of loyalty and no concept of monogamy and no concept of motherhood as well. It wasn't that she was a bad creature. She was never designed to be in one relationship in one place and fully committed. So King Athamas, after about the 27th time that he found her with another guy, he's like, "Enough, I can't take this. Um, we're done. You go on back to your clouds, and I'm gonna stay here, and I'm gonna raise the children." And Nephele didn't she was heartbroken, of course, because she thought this was the way things were supposed to be, and she really did not want to leave her children, but she did understand the concept enough to know that if she took her children with her, they would be neglected. So, sadly, she left, and she did visit the children whenever they did, kinda like think of it like an Irish setter. Like, an Irish setter is always so happy to see you when you walk in the door, and, "Hi, hi, hi, how are you doing?" But then when you leave the room, there's like, they don't even know who you are. They already forgot about you, right? They got other things to do. There's a neat smell in the corner. That was like Nephele. So when she would remember she had children, she would come visit them, and she did love them very, very deeply. It's just she wasn't wired to be a mother or a wife. So Athamas, he spent some time alone raising the children. He had his court and his helpers helping him, and he saw a woman named Ino. Now, Ino was the daughter of Cadmus, the king of Thebes, and she was everything that Nephele wasn't. She wasn't the most beautiful woman in the world. She was fairly plain, and she was very common sense oriented, very loyal, very true, and a little bit dull. But after being married to Nephele, Athamas was like, "This is the woman I need in my life." And she had 2 children of her own, and he thought, "Well, she's obviously a good mother." So he took his time, he courted her, he dated her, and then he asked her to marry him. And she was like, "Absolutely, of course." And she was truly happy. There was a problem, though. Ino was extremely ambitious for her 2 children. And remember, Phrixus and Helle were like just beautiful children inside and out, friendly and courteous and sweet. And Ino's children from her previous marriage were kinda dull and, emo, and, "I don't wanna talk to anybody. I don't have to talk to anybody. I'm the prince." You know, they needed an attitude adjustment is what they needed. But Ino really wanted her children to succeed both thrones. She wanted one to be the king of Boeotia and the other to be the king of Cadmus. So she saw Phrixus and Helle as very serious threats to her children's future. And she turned kind of, I'd say, evil. she did some really horrible things to get Phrixus and Helle out of the way. So, and she really truly hated these children. So she devised a plan. Okay. Now, she convinced or bullied all the women in the community in both Cadmus and in Boeotia to roast the corn seeds before planting. Now, what happens when you roast corn seeds before you plant them? They 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 are no longer seeds. They're dead. They will not grow. So she killed the seeds. Every woman in these communities were so afraid of her by this time that that they did what she said and didn't question it. And the men had no idea that this was going on. They planted the corn. They thought they were going to have a great harvest. Come harvest time, the land was absolutely barren. A drought had hit as well. So not even wild plants were growing. So Athamas and his city believed they were cursed. It's like Athamas was like, "What did we do wrong to piss the gods off so much that we have no food for the winter at all, or even to last through the rest of the year, through the autumn?" So he decided to send 3 messengers to the oracle. Now, mind you, these were super dangerous times. So he sent 3 because he knew that not all of them would make it to the oracle, and not all of them would make it back. And in case you don't know what an oracle was at that time, was a seer, a diviner, someone who not only told the future, but told what was going on in the present and how to correct it. So Ino was ready for these messengers. So it's like every time I see your name, I want to go, I know, right? But I can't help it. I had to do it. I'm sorry. So Ino set up assassins on the roads. So these assassins were very sneaky, and they waylaid 2 of the messengers and killed them, just outright killed them. They did let the 3rd messenger pass, but Ino was ready for that too. So when the 3rd messenger came back with the message from the oracle, Ino had him surrounded by these assassins, and she got up into his face and said, "Do you value your life? Do you value the lives of your children, your spouse, your family, your mother, your father? Because if you do, then you're going to do exactly what I tell you to do, or I am going to kill everything you love while you watch, and then you are going to die in the most slow, painful way possible." And this poor messenger was shaking in his boots. He was surrounded, he had nowhere to go, and he knew that Ino did what she said. So he agreed. "Yes, yes, I will do everything you say." And she let him pass and go to King Athamas. Now, when he gets to King Athamas, he's my your majesty, I have horrible news. The gods are extremely upset. They wouldn't say what has been done to piss them off so bad, but the only way we can fix this is for you to do a sacrificial ritual and kill your son Phrixus. And the first thing Athamas did was, "Oh, hell with that." He just stormed out. He was like, "I'm not doing that. I've got nothing to do with this. There's nothing so bad that this can be the answer." And he stalked off into his rooms, and Ino chased after him. And she was like, my liege, you have to do it. Are you really going to let one child dictate the lives of everyone in both of our kingdoms? Everybody is going to die of starvation if you do not kill him. I know it's hard, and we love the boy so much, lying bitch. We love that boy, but we have to make the sacrifice to make things right, or both our kingdoms will die." And Athamas thought about it, and he went into deep prayer and meditation. He fasted for, I'd say, 3 days until he came to the conclusion that, yeah, I know was right. And if the gods demanded this sacrifice, who was he? Who was he to say no and let all of his people die? So he set a date and he invited everybody in both kingdoms to come bear witness to see that he was a God fearing man and that he was playing by the rules and that he was going to sacrifice his son. So they were all gathered around in a circle around the sacrificial altar. And Helle was as close as she could get because she was hoping there was some way she could save Phrixus. But Athamas had the knife and he had it up in the air and he said, I'm sorry, boy, but this is the way it has to be. And he began to bring the knife down. And do y'all know what a cliffhanger is? This is a cliffhanger because I'm gonna leave you right there and I'm gonna take you back in time and I'm gonna set up the next part of the story so it all comes together again, okay? So poor I'm sorry, y'all, but we had to do it this way. So back to Nephili a few years ago. Now, some people say that what we're about to discover was a gift from Hermes to Nephili, okay? But in the yeah, let me speak this right. In the book Ovid Metamorphosis 6 by Melba, one of the few surviving works of mythology from 1 BC, the story is told the way I'm about to tell you, okay? Now, Poseidon, the god of the sea, big, beautiful god. Oof, he's my favorite if you can't tell. he uh he was in absolute lust with Nepheli, the cloud nymph that was the mother of Phrixus and Helle. So he kidnapped her because what else is he gonna do, right? He couldn't just woo her. Nepheli was up for anything, but he kidnapped her and he took her to an island called Kuminsa. So, and he did this for two reasons. First of all, he did not want his wife finding out about this because his wife, Juno, could get really, really rude about extramarital affairs. Can we blame her? And second of all, he didn't want all of Nepheli's suitors to find them because how can you get your game on when you got somebody coming in every 10 seconds saying, hey, Nepheli, and Nepheli ripping her clothes off saying, hey, right? So he turned her into, and I quote, I'm going to read this, a lovely ewe and himself into a glorious giant ram and all the villagers to cattle so he could keep them quiet because this was a populated town. So he turned her into a ewe, himself into a ram, and all the villagers into cattle. And I love that it was written as a lovely ewe because who can resist a lovely ewe, right? So her suitors did find out where Nepheli was, and they came to the island, and they were hungry, and they didn't realize what Poseidon had done. So they started eating the cattle that were originally the villagers. And Nepheli was like, "Oh my gosh, what in the world is they're eating the people?" And Poseidon was like, "No, no, we can't have this." And even though those suitors didn't know that the cattle were villagers, Poseidon turned the villagers into wolves so they could eat the suitors, the remaining villagers. I freaking love mythology. It's like it's a little complicated, but it is definitely interesting. So once all this drama was done and Poseidon finally had Nepheli alone, he had his way with her. She was still the ewe, he was still the ram. And 9 months later, a beautiful, beautiful little child kid was born, and it was a lamb with golden fur. And I'm not talking golden colored, is actual strands of gold that that twisted around and made the fleece just glisten in the light. He was absolutely beautiful. This beautiful child of a god and a mystical creature. And he was born knowing how to talk. He was born knowing how to fly. And he was just an enigma. Like everybody was drawn to him. He was so beautiful that everybody wanted to touch him or talk to him. And he had a name. Aries is Krios Chrysomelis, the ram Chrysomelis. That's his name. And Chrysomelis could talk up a storm. He was so funny. Now you got to remember, he was friendly and curious and just wanted to know about everything. And this little baby lamb had no filter. None. Zip, zilch, nada. If you asked him a question, you better be ready for the God's honest truth because he was going to tell you the truth. And he usually told it in a very sarcastic, very, very funny way. Most of the time, the gods got a sense of humor, but humans could get a little offended by him because they were like, wow, really? But the god Apollo absolutely, absolutely fell in love with Chrysomelos, spent every moment he could. It's like they were soul brothers, even though they were cousins. They were soul brothers, and they spent so much time together. And Chrysomelos never ever failed to make Apollo laugh. And I love that he could make the sun god himself laugh. So fast forward just a few years, because we got to give Chrysomelos a little bit of time to grow up, and he grew up into this great, glorious, beautiful golden ram. And a god named Hermes, and Hermes, one of his godhoods is divination. He caught wind of the situation with Phrixus and Helle, and he looked it through, and he looked it all the way through, like from beginning to end. And Hermes said, "Shit, I gotta tell Nepheli and Chrysomelos. This can't happen. That boy, Phrixus, is important to the future. He needs to live." So Hermes pops in while Poseidon is visiting with Nepheli, and he tells Poseidon and Nepheli everything that's going on. And he said, Chrysomelos needs to go save them, but Chrysomelos will die if he goes to save them. But if he does not go to save them, the future of mankind will alter and not in a good way. And Nepheli was like, nope, 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 not going to happen, not going to happen. And Poseidon was, if that child goes anywhere near the ocean with those two kids, I will kill them. This is my son. And Philly was like, "What? No, you won't." And they started arguing, and in popped Apollo, and Apollo was pissed because Apollo's the one who taught Mercury about divination. He's like, "How dare you come in and put Chrysomelos into danger?" And they're arguing. So everybody's arguing about what Chrysomelos isn't allowed to do. And Chrysomelos is hearing the arguing, and he bursts into the room. He's like, "Wait! I have a brother and a sister. I have I have siblings and nobody bothered to tell me and they're going to die. To hell with all of y'all. I'm going to save them." And Apollo said, "No. No, do you hear this? You will die. You have to die if you go do this." And Chrysomelos said, "I'm doing it. I cannot find out that I have family that I've never met and just let them die. Who do you think I am?" So Mercury stepped in and he said, "Let me explain everything to you, Chrysomelos. You've got a day where you can spend with me, and then you can go and save them if you still choose to." So he and Chrysomelos, Mercury and Chrysomelos, Hermes in the Greek. I've been calling him Mercury this whole time. That's Roman, y'all. It's Hermes. They sat down And Hermes explained everything. And Chrysomelos didn't even blink, didn't even falter. He was like, I'm doing it. I have a brother and a sister. I'm going to save them. And off he went. Poseidon screaming after him, if you go anywhere near my domain, I will drag them down. Poseidon, none of the gods wanted to see anything happen to this beautiful, beautiful ram. Okay, so back to Crixus with his knife over his head. It does take a few days for Chrysomelos to fly. He had time. But right as Athamas is coming down with the knife, in bursts Chrysomelos, and he throws himself against Athamas, knocks the knife out of his hand, knocks Athamas onto the ground, and Helle grabs the knife and cuts Phrixus free. And Chrysomelos says, come with me if you want to live. No, that's not what he said. He said, sorry, I'm sorry. He said, hurry, Phrixus, hurry, jump on my back. We need to get out of here. They will all come after you. Hurry, let's go, let's go. So Phrixus jumped on to Chrysomelos' back, and Helle was right after him because she would not ever want to be separated from Phrixus. And she knew that if she stayed, Ino would have her head on a platter next. So they both jumped onto Chrysomelos' back. And Chrysomelos had a little bit of a hard time getting up off the ground because he wasn't expecting both of them. But then he flew up into the air and took off. And he was going to take Phrixus and Helle as far away from Boeotia as he could get. In order to do that, he had to cross the ocean. So he turned around and he told them, hold on as tight as you can. Do not let go for any reason. If you fall, I cannot come after you or we will all die. And that can't happen. So Phrixus had a death grip on the golden fleece, and Helle had her arms around Phrixus's waist, and they headed for the ocean. Somnus went as far and high as he could go, and he just kept going. And this trip took maybe 5 days because he was going all the way across the ocean to the farthest known land in the ancient Greek culture. They didn't even have maps that went farther than Chrysomelos was going. And about halfway there, Hallie started falling asleep and she got really, really tired. And she thought she saw something in the water. So she just one arm let go of Phrixus and reached down. And then her other arm lost all of its ability to hold on. And down she went. Phrixus screaming, no, and reaching for her. And Chrysomelos was like, don't let go. We can't. Tears just streaming down both their faces. And Helle was lost. She went down in the Strait of Dardanelles, and it was named Hellespont for a very long time to honor her memory. So Phrixus kept holding on. It was about 2 more days till they got to the farthest reaches. They went all the way to a place called Cochise, which we today know as Russia's Georgia. And it's right on the edge of the Black Sea. Okay, so they landed, I'd say about a mile inland, far enough that the sea could not reach them. They landed right off of the beach, and both of them just fell into they collapsed and cried like, "Oh my gosh, what is going on? What is going on?" They were exhausted from the trip, both of them, and they were grieving over Helle. Phrixus's heart was broken, and he said, "What do we do now? How are we supposed to survive? Where do we go from here?" And Chrysomelos said, "Tonight, let's not worry about that. Let's gather some food, grieve for Helle, have a night of togetherness, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do tomorrow." So they gathered firewood and they made a fire and they gathered some critters so that they could have something to eat and some plants. And they talked about Helle for a while. But then they bonded. When Chrysomelos said, "I am your brother, Nepheli, we share the same mother," they started to bond, and Phrixus completely fell in love with this beautiful golden ram, and he felt he this was no replacement for Helle, but he felt part of his heart heal, that he was not so completely alone. And they fell asleep with Phrixus's arms wrapped around Chrysomelus's neck, and his face burrowed into his soft golden curls, and they had a great night. And the next morning when they woke up, Chrysomelos he was a little pensive. And Phrixus was like, "What's wrong, Chrysomelos? What's wrong?" And Chrysomelos said, "Well, walk with me." And he started walking toward the ocean. He wanted to be a little bit closer to his father. And he said, "Phrixus, you have to sacrifice me." Phrixus is like, "What?" Chrysomelos said that the crux of the human future is right here and right now. And if you don't kill me and take my fleece and give it to Aedes, King Aedes of Cochise, as a gift, humankind will not grow to be what it's supposed to be. And Phrixus is like, "No, no, I can't do that. I can't do it. Please don't make me do this. I love you. I just lost my sister, and now I'm supposed to lose you too." Chrysomelos says, "You have to, please. Would you make me take my own life?" And Phrixus just fell on his knees, bawling, "I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't care about humanity. Look at what happened back in my home. All those people were ready to kill me. Fuck them all." And Aries, Chrysomelos, said, "I have to die." And he began to fade. Slowly, slowly, he began to fade and melt until all that was left was the golden fleece. And poor Phrixus grabbed the fleece up and just cried and bawled and screamed at the gods, "How dare you!" Long, long after the sunset, he stood up and he hugged the golden fleece to him, and he started to make his way to Cochise. And he got there the next morning. King Aedes knew he was coming. And when Phrixus gave King Aedes this gift, this beautiful, beautiful, tragic gift, Aedes knew this was his next heir. And he, he put the fleece in a special, special meadow. And as long as it stayed in that meadow, his kingship would be safe, whether it was his or his heirs or whatever. But he married Phrixus to his daughter Chalciope right away and named him heir to the throne. And Phrixus and Chalciope, they lived happily ever after. They did. They were happy. But that morning, when Phrixus walked into Cochise, the broken body of Chrysomelos appeared on the beach, missing the skin. It was just this husk of muscle, gristle, and bone and blood. And slowly the ocean made its way toward the body until it wrapped around Chrysomolos's body, wrapped it up, and pulled it back into the sea so that it could give the body of Chrysomelos to Poseidon, his father. And Poseidon held his body in his arms. He kissed where his little pink nose used to be. And he heard a little voice in his ear. "I saved him, Papa. I saved him." And Poseidon started crying, rocking his little boy, telling him how proud he was, how much he loved him. And one by one, he and Apollo placed the pieces of Chrysomelus's soul into the stars, and the constellation Aries was born. And that is the story of Aries.
Wow, what a good story. Oh my gosh.
Oh, my mascara isn't waterproof. Damn it.
Oh,
I can't tell that story.
what an amazing story.
Ah, oh, Cassidy.
Oh, guys, this is your time for you to ask any questions you may have about Aries and the story that was just told. Such a beautiful story. So many people involved.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people
In
involved.
this story, there was a lot of names that, even if you wouldn't know, you know, all the constantly, you've heard these gods before, you've heard these names before, and to know that they took part in this is amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah, everybody loved Chrysomelos. Everybody. And the story doesn't end with him dying. Um I don't know if you've heard of Jason and the Argonauts. That's all about Jason's quest to recover the golden fleece because it's stolen from Aedes' meadow.
Right.
And so Aedes' heirs are all in danger. In fact, they're dethroned. So Jason and the Argonauts, of which the Gemini twins were Argonauts. I can't wait to tell about them. But Jason and the Argonauts is a continuation of Chrysomelus's story in some way. Yeah. It's probably part of the biggest epic story that survives from that time. So, does anybody have any questions? Kelly says, yes, there is a movie. Oh, yeah, there's books, movies, and they're retold in different ways, reimagined, which I think is amazing. Those stories stay alive. It's been over 3,000 years, and the stories are still alive. Now, they do change over time, and there are several different versions of each story, but they're still alive, which excites me. I'm a big old nerd, y'all.
That's okay. We're nerding out right with you. So,
Jason and the Argonauts. Yes, yes. And that's part of that. Let me find that name of the book, the Opus Metamorphosis. I might be saying it wrong. Uh,
Cassidy says, can't no one tell a story like Squirrel?
Aw, thank you, Cassidy. I love stories, you guys, and I love mythology. Go figure, right? So now as I had learned astrology, and I knew there were stories about the constellations because I'd
Right.
always been in love with mythology. But I noticed that almost no one that I've ever seen ever teaches about the actual origin stories, the mythology. And that mythology has a great deal to do with it. It's like if you think about Aries, if you think about the way that Chrysomelos reacted, saying, no, I'm doing this without thought for himself, knowing he was going to die.
Sounds like somebody might want to start teaching that in the new school that's happening in September. That wasn't a hint or nothing.
it, it's so relevant. That is
Exactly.
cardinal masculine fire. It thinks without or acts without thought. We would not have without Aries has such a bad rap journey. Like everybody talks about how selfish it is. It's not selfish. It's self-centered, which are two different animals. It can be selfish, but so can any sign.
Well,
But
it gets that self centeredness from all the attraction. Aries draws a lot of attraction to itself.
it does. It's beautiful. It's everybody wants to touch it. And without that cardinal masculine fire energy, there would be no firefighters. There would be no first responders. There would be no fighting soldiers. To be able to lay your life on the line to
Mm-hmm.
save somebody else is Aries through and through.
Absolutely.
And Chrysomelis shows us that.
Yeah. Kelly said, yes, that's awesome.
Ah, love that. You guys don't have any
That's what I'm
questions?
waiting to see. Let's see some questions about the story or about Aries in general. We'll be more than happy to answer as many of those questions as we possibly can. We got some time to kill, so go ahead and throw us those questions. I mean, a lot of people, like we were talking about the difference between self-centered and selfish, or like I said, they draw in attention, so a lot of people pay attention to them. So everybody thinks they're all about me, 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 and it's not the me part. It's the I can draw attention to myself.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Cassidy puts,
Self-centered and selfless. So cool how the story shows that opposition. Yes. Yes,
really,
it is cool. And no sign or planet or energy is purely good or purely bad. But I think this story shows a lot of the good of Aries that people tend to forget nowadays. With pop astrology, you get such bad reps. Like Aries has a bad rap. Poor Scorpio. Poor Scorpio. So, all right. Kelly asks, at the beginning, when talking about farming, is that where the word agriculture came from? That is a great question. And I usually love questions about, I can't remember if it's entomology or etymology, not the bugs, but I just know that they called it an agrarian worker. I'm sure though that it was a different word than what we would use. I'll have to look into the root word for you, Kelly. But that's a great question, and you know I'm going to be looking it up. So, as far as words go, though, and I know you didn't ask this, Kelly, but I get a kick out of this. The word nymphomaniac, comes from the various different nymphs from Greek mythology because that's how they were.
I know a lot of Aries that are in that nymphomaniac energy.
Well, that all that cooped up energy, they got to get it out somehow, right?
Exactly. Now, if they could only use that Aries with some Virgo and a little bit of Cancer and Leo, oh my God. I'm already built. I'm like building a person over here.
Oh, see, that would
And
be so cool if we could do that. Like, you can have a little bit of this, and you
a
need
little
some
bit
of
of that.
that.
Poof. And boom.
Kelly said, LOL, yeah, that was coming next.
Definitely, guys, got any more questions about Aries? Please let us know. And the energy, every time I meet an Aries, they are a head-on person. That's where I've always gotten the word ram from too, because it's something that they will meet you head on. They do not care. They're not thinking. They're going
Truth.
after. They want what they want. They're going to tell you how they feel right now.
Yep. And even those Aries,
You will hear
like
them.
you actually have some shy Aries. And that could be because of, they were raised as children should be seen and not heard type of thing. Uh, they usually rebel against that if it's pure Aries energy, though. They're not going to take that for very long. But there could be some Pisces in their chart or some Taurus in their chart that brings it back a notch. Not every Aries is going to be wide open and running into a burning building. There are other factors in our chart that shapes us. Yes, they are still in Aries, and they will move forward in an Aries way, but it might be a softer kind of Aries.
Uh, yes. Sorry, I'm multitasking. multitasking here for a second.
Oh, sorry, I got a cough in my throat. It's like an Aries cough. The
Yeah.
Aries I know are pretty headstrong. Yeah, my one son is a triple Aries.
Ooh,
Huh?
I said, ooh,
Yeah. Aries Sun, Aries rising, and Aries Mars. Like,
teenage years were hell.
man, I finally learned, okay, because this was back when you could whip kids. No sense in whipping him because he'd just stand there looking at me like, and so I started threatening him with military school and he shaped up. She said, "Oh, but they were horn dogs too, LOL." Well, as far as I can tell, I don't ask too deeply, but both of my children are. Both of them. My youngest son has an Aries rising, and I'm a Leo, so my poor Cancer husband is like, what the hell? We drove him nuts or drive him nuts.
Exactly.
Like,
But
I didn't sign up for this shit.
nuts in a good way. Nuts in a good way. You like nuts. I mean, you're a squirrel.
I love nuts of
And
all kinds.
Kelly's giving you a bunch of laughing faces. But yes, Aries is like, that's why they use the ram. That's part of the whole direct. Aries is I like their energy, but they're very independent. They don't need people. They
Very
don't need
independent.
they don't need them, but they love it. They love the attention. It's not that they need people. It's just because they're so independent, because they're so strong, people are attracted to that strength.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and Aries, I love when that you said that they don't need people because Aries is the first sign in the zodiac. And the zodiac kind of moves around like it starts with self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
I am me, I can take care of myself. And then it moves into, like maybe a farm with a family of
Hmm.
sufficiency, and then on to the community of efficiency, and then up to the global, worldwide.
Hmm.
We take care of ourselves, we take care of our family, we take care of our community, we take care of the world. And Aries is the most self-sufficient of all of the signs.
Right. Well,
So,
Aries is brave too, because again, like you were just saying, that bravery comes from the I am me, I will be me, doesn't matter what. But people are attracted to that because they have no fear.
yeah, they they're
That's where
pre-ego,
yeah, that's where the impulsiveness comes from because they don't fear it.
and they generally like pure Aries has no ego because ego when you have fear of what other people think, that's ego. Without ego, you just don't give a shit. And Kelly asked, what happened to the wife that started all that about killing his son? She got away scot-free, Kelly.
What a
Her
bitch.
kids became the kings of what she got everything she wanted. Fat cow. No, sorry. It's like, no, she
Heifer,
got everything she wanted.
stupid heifer.
Right?
But
Heifer.
she got what she wanted, but there's always a price to pay.
Oh yeah.
There's always a price to pay.
That's okay. She had to go to the underworld because Hades loved Chrysomelis too. And Cassidy asks, is Aries often hard on themselves being centered on self? Yes. Yes, they can be. But the Aries that I have been in contact with usually think that they can do anything better than anybody else. If they want it done right, they got to do it themselves, type of thing. And
That's where that saying comes from.
it's probably, yep, that or a Virgo. But Aries also, if you think about it, Aries in today's world are always hearing Aries are self-centered, Aries are narcissists, Aries are this, Aries get a lot of crap. So it doesn't matter what sign you are. If you're hearing that kind of negative stuff, every move you make, you second guess. Am I being self-centered? Am I being a narcissist? Am I being this? Am I being that? So I feel really badly for those Aries who do have something, some factor, some planet in their chart in another planet that gives them that ego to be able to listen to other people's crap because they're always going to hold back, and Aries was not designed to hold back. It wasn't.
Mm-mm, not at all.
Yeah.
That's why they are seen as such a brave person because they don't hold back. They don't shine away from who they are. They show you who they are.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't make good liars.
They don't they don't have time to lie. Like, do it now, you
Exactly.
know? And so they don't think to make up the lies. And Kelly says, but they are very charismatic. Abso-freaking-lutely. Very charismatic. Yep. People are drawn to them. That's why Chrysomelis was so beautiful in the stories as an Aries, because they're just, it's like, that's cardinal fire. Ooh, pretty. But and one thing I love about Aries too is if you piss them off, this is pure Aries, no Scorpio involved. If you piss them off, they'll punch you in the nose and then take you out for a drink, and they'll never bring that shit up again.
Right.
It's done. We forgot about that. What are you talking about? That happened 7 minutes ago. Shut up already, right?
They definitely don't live in the past.
No, no. Always moving forward.
Now,
Beautiful.
I know we've got lots of signs still coming up, and Taurus, I know, was one of your favorite stories.
I like Taurus. Taurus is several stories.
Mm-hmm.
All the earth signs have a
Yes.
freaking list. Virgo, the biggest list of all.
Oh, of course Virgo's got the biggest list. Come on. Come
But
on.
all three earth signs
Mm-hmm.
have one, well, two, three or more stories that
Mm-hmm.
could apply. And all of the ones for Taurus are fairly short. So I will tell all three of those, or three of those. Virgo, I stuck to one because not only is there a gazillion stories, there's a ton of information for each one. And Capricorn, I'm trying to narrow it down between two different stories, but they both make sense.
Kelly sent you a message.
Kelly says, funny, I was going to say a slap and a hug. Or that, exactly.
Exactly, exactly. And Aries with all that fire, that's a direct energy. It's a charged energy. Very
And
powerful.
I love the directness. Sometimes it stings. Sometimes
Mhm,
I'm like, ooh, ow, you really said it like that? But it's never, usually not with malice, not from Aries.
mhm.
Um, it's gotta sting sometimes, but I'd rather somebody sting me real hard with the truth
Yeah,
than jerk me around with half truths or lies.
right.
Yeah.
Understand that 100%.
And Kelly said, "Of course, I'm so ready for Virgo. Yay, that's me." We got so many Virgos just chomping at the bit for that one, and it is, ooh, that's a good one.
You
But
still got four more stories before we get to Virgo.
yes, yes. And
So by
Taurus will be
yeah,
next.
Taurus is next, then we've got Gemini, then Cancer, Leo, Virgo will be in August.
Ooh,
So
that's
in
right.
August we'll be talking about Virgo. And of course, when we get to the month of June, I cannot wait because it's Cancer season, and that is me. But I also can't wait to hear Virgo because I have a lot of Virgo in my chart. So,
You will
oh,
so identify with the Virgo.
I know I am.
Absolutely.
I can't wait.
And
I can't
bring
wait.
your tissue for Cancer.
Of course, I would think nothing less than to bring a tissue for Cancer.
I think. I think the only ones that haven't made me cry are Taurus and Leo and Scorpio. Gemini, I'll be happy if I can get through it. I've never told Gemini out loud. I've told it in my head a gazillion times, but even in my head, it's like every time I get to a certain part, I'm like, I'm done. I'm hoping I can speak it. It's a beautiful, beautiful, exciting story. That's my absolute favorite, followed closely by Aries.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry,
Coughing.
I had to take a drink there because my throat's about to.
I was coughing over there, but Squirrel,
Both of us.
yeah, Squirrel. It looks like we have run out of time. And
Oh,
Kelly did say that's awesome. I'm ready for all of them.
thank you, Kelly.
So, but we have come to our ending to this show, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna let Squirrel take over.
And thank you everyone for coming and or for re-listening if you're re-listening. This was fantastic. Join us next month for Taurus. And don't forget to come see me Wednesday nights on Whispers from the Forest with my psychic connection at midnight. And check out the show lineups because we got a lot of really fantastic shows on all week long. I'll see y'all later. Mwah. Bye.